Grace, speaking of covering the investment side of things, let's introduce your guest. They are from Orderful, talking about a recent raise for the company. I'll go ahead and let you do the introduction and get into the interview.
Yeah, definitely. So I have Erik here with me today. He's the founder and CEO of Orderful. Thank you so much for being here with us, Erik.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So you just went through your recent $19 million raise. And before we dive into what we're going to be doing with that capital, let's introduce the audience into what Orderful is and what this EDI platform is. Because I think it's once again, like we just talked about, it's something small behind the scenes that people don't understand how much it affects the supply chain. So can you dive into the cloud software for us?
That's right. Sure. Yeah. So EDI is the way that companies trade data, the way that companies actually integrate with one another. So if you're not familiar with the problem or the solution, what it is it's a protocol that enables shippers to actually integrate and have automated transactions with their carriers. So what we built, just kind of taking a step back, my past experience was a developer in the space, and what I was doing is I was building custom integrations for manufacturers, connecting them with their supply chain. So I started my career as a consultant. What I was doing was building these custom integrations. I saw that the market, wasn't being served with software. The market was being served all with professional services and consulting services. So what I set out to do is build a cloud platform that could bring companies together in one place. And so what we've been able to build at Orderful is a network of pre-connected shippers and retailers and 3PLs and carriers, so that when anybody connects to our platform once, they can start testing and enabling and trading with their supply chain immediately.
Yeah, and for everyone in the audience that might not work behind the scenes at like a carrier, brokerage, or even a shipper, a lot of times these shippers use EDI still compared to API connections, and a lot of companies prefer API. So what Orderful can help do is make those connections without having to invest deep into the development ops that in house. So what's really great too is Erik, you've built connections with some of the largest companies out there, and everyone go check out their website. They have a handful of those on there. But can you dive into some of the partnerships that you've been able to build and within this platform already?
Yeah, for sure. So like any major shipper, any major retailer in the United States is published on our network. And so what that means is we take their EDI requirements and we digitize them. So every shipper, every retailer has their own unique requirements to trade with them. And so what we've done is we built a feature where we can take those PDF files, which are traditionally sent over email to describe how to integrate with the shipper, and we've digitized them. So when we do that, we add to the size of our network. So like I mentioned, every major retailer, you've got Amazon, Costco, Walmart, um, uh, anybody from those guys down to the 99-cent store, Walgreens, CVS, and then on the shipper side, same thing. We have a lot of the larger Fortune 500 manufacturers and companies that are demanding automated integrations with their supply chains already published on the network. And so the way that we grow our network is we can represent both sides of the supply chain. So we can represent companies like Koch Industries, they're a current customer of ours, and what we do with KBX Logistics is we publish their requirements in our platform, and then they invite their carriers. They're inviting their carriers on to trade with them. So what that does for us is it creates this ability for us to provide one single platform where both sides of the supply chain can self-service to onboard and do business with each other. So when we invite their carriers on, their carriers end up logging in and onboarding through our portal as self-service, and we completely eliminate the need for there to be custom consulting or third parties involved. It can all be self-service by the resources at the carrier.
Yeah, and what's great is when you say erase the need for that, you're making the barrier of entry a lot easier for carriers, right? Like they're going to be able to go out there and they're going to be able to approach any shipper within even in that network and know that, hey, we're going to be able to work with you and work with you quickly. I was talking to someone who's worked with you in the past, and they told me the onboarding time was ridiculously fast. And I don't think a lot of people understand that this technology and these setups, in order to communicate that data, normally, if you were to do a third party in house, can take weeks, if not months, to set up. And when we're talking working with Orderful, pretty much immediately. How's it feel to shrink down that timeline for your
Yeah,
customers?
that's great. That's the big pain in the industry. And the transactions, just to take it a step higher too, the transactions that we're integrating with carriers and shippers are things like the load tender and the load acceptance in I-90. And then also, pretty commonly are the 214s, like the location updates, and then the invoices, the 210s. So if you've heard those
Yeah.
transaction numbers, EDI. But the way that we shrink down that onboarding time is we provide both sides a self-service onboarding portal. So instead of there needing to be humans in the middle, sending and receiving emails back and forth to collaborate on testing, which traditionally, the way this testing cycle goes is the shipper would send a PDF file to the carrier would then read that PDF file, build a custom integration, and then start testing with the shipper. Instead of that whole back and forth, that exchange happening, via email and phone, these companies can now actually just log into our portal and do this on their own time. So when a developer gets started, what they can do is post a transaction to Orderful in the file format that they already trade. So they can post like an X12 file of any version. And then what our product does is it gives that developer real-time feedback of whether or not their data can be accepted. And so that real-time feedback rapidly reduces the amount of time that it takes to onboard, because you're not waiting for a human to send you an email or a human to update you on the testing cycle. So if we can give people more power at their fingertips to do their jobs in real time, we can dramatically reduce the amount of time it would take for this onboarding cycle to happen. So that's how we've approached the problem, is to build self-service software that enables people to do this on their own time.
Perfect. There's a bunch of ops guys right now just foaming at the mouth listening to all those codes. And now with this raise, what are you hoping to do with that? What are the next steps for Orderful? Where do you see your growth really expanding now?
Yeah, so we're scaling rapidly right now. Part of the capital will be used on some scale initiatives to support our existing accounts and all of our growth to date. And then secondly, we haven't really gone to market yet. So we haven't, we have a sales team of one, or we've had a sales team of one. We now have a sales team of two. So we're going to start putting some marketing materials together. We're going to start informing the industry about how we can help companies, other companies like Coke Industries, onboard their supply chains more quickly. So this is, it's really exciting. We're really excited about, not only having the support from a new investor, but the ability to really make a change in the market. In my experience, I've dealt with this pain day in and day out as an EDI developer, and I'm really excited about bringing a solution to the table that can actually solve the problem and doesn't just cause more managed services or more consulting services to get the job done. So really excited about actually making a dent in the industry.
Yeah, and it's a huge behind the scene problem, and that's what I really like about this solution is it's one of those things where the average person doesn't understand that this is actually really meaningful to the overall delivery of their goods. So thank you so much for being with us today, Eric, and excited to have you on here in the future.
Thanks, Grace. Thanks a lot.